What's up, guys? So today we're talking about the Z press, which is my favorite overhead pressing movement. Now, fun fact, before I thought the Z press was named after Zydrunas Savikas, the famous strongman who is one of the strongest people to have ever lived. But it turns out it's probably not actually named after him. He said on a podcast before he doesn't know why it's named after him. He said that he's never done them, and he even says that he doesn't even like them either. I've also heard that Alexander Bromley doesn't like them either. However, I do, and I think it's important to try different variations and see if you like them or don't like them. Try it out. If you don't like them, don't do them. If you do like them, then do them. So a Z press is a press from a rack in the bottom position. So you can't get any kind of leg drive or hip drive or any kind of bounce out of the bottom position, and it requires a little bit more stability and balance. For this reason, most people cannot press as much weight as they can with a traditional standing overhead barbell press. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. Over time, with practice, you should be able to get pretty damn close to your normal overhead numbers. For reference, I am only about 3 to 5% weaker with a Z press because I've been doing it for so long. As you get your technique down, you should be able to get almost as strong with this movement. Now first, let's talk about the benefits of the Z press. First, I find that they are a lot easier on the lower back. This isn't always the case. Some people say that it bothers their tailbone because they're sitting on their arse. Try it out, see if it works for you. For me and for a lot of people, they find that this actually takes stress off of the lower back. When you are doing a standard standing barbell overhead press, a lot of people will attempt to arch back in order to get a little bit more chest involved. This is okay for some people. For other people, it messes up the lower back. The only time I've had any kind of lower back issues is from doing too much of the standard overhead press. With the Z press, you cannot really arch back. Because you are sitting, if you arch back or try to lean back too much to get more chest involvement, you'll just fall down, okay? So it actually is self-limiting and forces you to maintain a fairly upright posture. Yes, you can lean back slightly in order to get a little bit more drive off of that bottom position, but it is self-limiting. So I really like this movement because it is a good way to get in a lot of volume on the overhead pressing movement pattern. When I set my overhead press PRs, I was actually doing very, very little overhead pressing and was doing the Z press for the vast majority of my pressing power. One benefit of the Z press is that it forces you to maintain a pretty strict technique. When you're doing a standard overhead press using a barbell and standing, a lot of people cheat. They cheat a little bit either from leaning back, as I mentioned before, or from a little bit of leg drive. They might use a slight knee pop, they might use the hips a little bit, they might use a little bit of lower back in the bottom position. Anything that gets the bar moving is going to put on maybe 5 or even 10 kilos to your personal best. However, you don't know if you're actually getting stronger in the areas that you want to target, the triceps, the shoulders, etc., or if you're just cheating a little bit more. In the Z press, if you get stronger, you know 100% it's the areas that you're trying to get better. Another benefit is that because you are pressing from pins, it is a more challenging lift. You can't get any kind of momentum. It starts from a dead stop like a deadlift, and thus it is good for power production. However, there are some negatives as well that I think is important to address. First, again, you're not going to be able to use as much weight even if you get really good at this movement just because it is a more challenging variation. Another one is that it actually might tighten up your hip flexors. Because your legs are out in front of you, the hip flexors are contracted and they might get in a tight position that tightens up your hip flexors, and most athletes or people who sit a lot, they're going to have tight hip flexors, so this isn't really doing your body any favors. Finally, it doesn't require you to brace as much as a standard standing overhead barbell press. Now, bracing is super important. It's something that I am working on. It's something that everyone should be working on and is absolutely vital to staying healthy. So I think for most people, you're going to want to do the standard overhead press just so you learn how to brace. Now, in terms of programming, I prefer doing this for low reps for most of my sets for a few reasons. First, You can do other exercises for high reps. So you can do lateral raises, you can do dumbbells, you can do face pulls. There's a bunch of different movements. You can check them out in my book if you want some ideas, which is in the description. Thank you for the support. But you can't do those movements for low reps. If you're doing lateral raises for sets of 3 to 5 reps, you messed up. That's a terrible idea. I've seen some programs that do this stupidity. I even saw one on bodybuilding.com, for God's sakes, that had sets of 3 in the lateral raise. Don't do that. That's stupid. So, on this type of compound movement, you might as well do low reps. So I would say anywhere from 3 to 6 reps is going to be the majority of my work. Occasionally I'll do 6 to 12, sometimes up to 20, but rarely. And occasionally I'll do 1 to 2 reps as well. It really just depends on my programming and how I feel, but I would say the majority should be anywhere from 3 to 10. For very high rep sets, you're going to find that you can actually rest pause. Similar to a deadlift where the bar is resting on the floor and there's no tension on your muscles, in this bottom position, when you're between reps, there's no tension. There's no constant tension on the muscle, and therefore, for higher reps, you can often get more reps than with a standard standing barbell press. This means that when I do higher reps, often I will just try to do them as quickly as possible and actually not rest in between reps. For me personally, it'll get out of hand. I'll do something for like 30 reps with my 10 rep max, just because I'm rest pausing and going beyond failure. For me, that tends to get a bit excessive. For other people, that might be ideal when it comes to muscle growth. So know yourself and know what is going to be suitable for you. So basically what I'll do is I'll set a certain number of reps that I know I can get, and I'll try to do it as quickly as possible. So I might set 10 reps or 12 reps and just do one set and time it. Then next time I will do it a little bit faster. That is the goal, and for me, that keeps me from chasing some ridiculous numbers like 20 reps or 30 reps in a set that isn't going to be as useful. In terms of number of sets, most people can handle a little bit more in terms of volume than a traditional overhead press. This is because the lower back is often a limiting factor. This also tends to be a little bit easier on the shoulder joints for most people. Plus, especially as you're starting out, you're not going to be able to handle as much weight, and so you're going to be able to recover a little bit more easily. In terms of technique, use whatever grip is most comfortable. I use a fairly narrow grip, about the same as I do for a closed grip bench press, just because I am stronger in this position and it feels pretty comfortable. Well, not on this rep, but most of the time it feels pretty comfortable. In terms of the height of the pins, also experiment with what works for you. If you feel like you're trying to scoop under the bar, it's probably a little bit too low. At a lowest height, I would say around the clavicles or the collarbones is going to be a good target. You can start with it a little bit higher, but keep in mind you'll probably be weaker in this position because you cannot build up that momentum to blast through the sticking point. This could be a good way to correct a weakness in that middle position, but I find that it's better just to start in a slightly lower position. It's a little bit awkward to start around forehead or nose height. Perhaps experiment, see if it works for you, but I didn't really find any kind of benefit from that height. I would definitely use a power rack for this with supports. Make sure to start each rep from a dead stop. Also, make sure to not bounce off the bottom position. Don't bounce off the pins. That is stupid. Only the dumbest, stupidest, most ignorant motherfucker out there would try to bounce a barbell off of pins. That just seems like a really, really bad idea. I don't even know who would possibly do that. They would have to be just like the dumbest motherfucker in the world. So if you have the IQ of a piece of bread, go ahead and do that. Otherwise, keep it strict because that's the entire point of the movement. All right, that is all for this video. Make sure to like, subscribe, turn on notifications, etc. And I will see you in the next video. Peace! Watch a video if you want, or don't. Whatever is cool with you. Yeah.